Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
And welcome into yet another episode of Those Were the Days. It's the show where we look back at some classic television with a modern take on things. We are in the last month of This Was for Kids. And, we're going in a slightly different direction from last week, but still in the realm of animation. But I can't do this by myself. No. I need people to help me out with this. I might be a wallaby who's just moved to the States, but I need my best friend, Steven.
It's time for another show where we cover classic shows. This time we're covering a classic show that claims it's a modern show. So does that mean we now cover modern shows? Or only classic modern shows? What is modern, anyway? What's the name for that thing where you say a word like modern so much you don't know if it's a real word anymore? I think that just happened. I don't know. Modern.
Also, I'm going to need my neurotic friend, Audie.
All I know is that all it takes to turn you into the tyrannical boss of a comic book shop is to have a big, comfy electronic office chair with a massage button.
And the ruler of heck, it's Amy.
You know, we've seen a lot of things that have been really questionable for children over the course of this topic, but I have to say that the most harmful thing that we've seen yet is this gross misrepresentation of the financial, oh, damn, it was going so good, and then it just went right off the rails. The most harmful thing that we have seen thus far is the gross misrepresentation of the financial gain to be had in the comic industry.
That's true.
Yes, this week we are wrapping up This Is for Kids with Rocko's Modern Life. Yep. Rocko's Modern Life. Before we dive too much into what the show was, I want to know your history with it. I'm going to start with Audie.
You know, this is another one of those cartoons that I didn't watch regularly or anything. I knew about and had seen clips and stuff from it here and there, but I never really watched. So this is my first time actually watching an episode.
All right. Amy, how about you?
So, I don't know how I've seen it. I know I've seen it. I've seen quite a few of them. I'm aware of Rocko's Modern Life, and I know I have for sure watched it. I don't have any concept of when or how, or like I feel like maybe it was like a college dorm thing on like I don't know. I don't know where I watched it, but it was not like appointment TV, you know what I mean? Because it was cable, which was not a thing that I had until later on. So I'm not entirely sure, but I am familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Steven?
Oh, Travis. Rocko's Modern Life is something just ingrained deeply into my DNA. I was a Nickelodeon kid. It's what I watched. They were safe shows for children, like Ren and Stimpy, Wild and Crazy Kids, and the like, and Salute Your Shorts, as we've already talked about. Rocko's Modern Life, I not only watched it, I was excited for its release because there were 3 Nicktoons at the time, in-house cartoons from Nickelodeon, and they were going to introduce a 4th one. And the 4th one was Rocko's Modern Life. And I watched the pilot with the vacuum cleaner, and I was just like, okay, yes. So I have seen every episode of Rocko's Modern Life multiple times. I mean, if my TV was on, it was probably on Nickelodeon, and I was probably watching Rocko's Modern Life in a rerun or on its airtime. I loved this show. It was great. Staple of my childhood.
Excellent.
So yes, I'm familiar with it.
I also I also remember this show because it was that fourth Nicktoon. You had Doug,
Mhm.
Ren and Stimpy, and Rugrats all came out. They were all wildly popular. And then a little while later was the new one. The new Nicktoon was coming, and then it was Rocko's Modern Life. And I do remember watching. In fact, I remember watching this specific episode, and we'll get to why that's burned into my brain forever. Um, but Rocko's Modern Life is a show following the life of an easily frightened Australian immigrant wallaby named Rocko. Um, and he lives in a city called O-Town, which is by the Great Lakes. And it's kind of Chicago-ish, but not really. It was just sort of generic Anytown, USA. Rocko lives with his dog Spunky. He has his best friend Heifer and his other friend Filbert, and his neighbors the Big Heads.
Mhm.
He works at a comic book shop, and it's just kind of his random adventures and crazy things that happen to him. Ran from uh, it was 1993, September 18th, 1993 to November 24th, 1996. 4 seasons, 52 episodes. Not bad. Not bad.
Good run.
That's
Yeah.
a good run.
It's 4 seasons, roughly 13 episodes per, but it was your standard animation format of 2 shorts per episode. So 52 episodes, 100 segments
Mhm.
total. It was created by Joe Murray, with a creative director eventually of Steven Hillenburg. We'll get to why that's important in a little bit. Joe Murray actually first created the character from an unpublished comic book series. He was trying to get a comic made in the late 80s. It wasn't doing well. And he kind of went to Nickelodeon. He wanted to make a movie called Zero the Dog, I think it was called, and or My Dog Zero, something like that. So he wanted to make this animated movie, and he went and pitched an idea to Nickelodeon reluctantly, in a way, to try and get some money, basically, to fund his movie. So he did like a pencil test, and they ended up saying, "We like it, let's make it." He's like, "Okay." He goes, "But I don't write for children," and they're like, "That's fine, we don't care," because they
Neither
wanted
do
to
we.
be. Yeah, Nickelodeon was really wanting to push the envelope and not just be known for kids programming, but appeal to college kids and the parents as well. So they were very much into edgy comedy, which this show had in spades. Even in this particular episode, the voices in this, Carlos Alazaraki, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He is the voice of Rocko. This launched his career. He also very well known as the Taco Bell Chihuahua from the 90s.
Oh
Yeah, they're both very Australian, so that makes sense.
Um, went on to do things like Spyro and Spyro the Dragon.
Oh,
there you go.
dang. All right.
He was in Camp Lazlo, Fairly Odd Parents, all sorts of stuff. Family Guy, Disney characters. He's been in a bunch. I think he was even in Reno 911, but I might be misremembering that. This
He was
also
apparently.
okay. It also started the career of Tom Kenny, who voiced Heifer. And Tom Kenny is voice acting royalty. He has been doing it pretty much nonstop since this.
Yeah.
And also Mr. Lawrence. Now, Tom Kenny, Mr. Lawrence, and Steven Hillenburg, who became the show's creative director, went on to do a little show you might have heard of called SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yep, very familiar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can
So-
see it. You
Oh.
can. The DNA is very much there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom Kenny blew my mind a
Um,
lot because Tom Kenny as SpongeBob and Tom Kenny as Heifer are very different voices. Like even like in Adventure
Oh, yeah.
Time, Tom Kenny's Ice King is very close to SpongeBob. Like you can find
yes,
it.
it's real close.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this was left field to me. I was like, wait, really? Because now I'm old enough, I recognize names and stuff. I actually care about the credits. I had no
Mhm.
idea. I learned a lot today.
it's Tom Kenny is one of those voice actors. It's like learning that Harry Shearer did both Burns and Smithers on The Simpsons.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you're just like, wait a minute, he did both of those voices? They don't sound anything alike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like some voice actors just have that. And Tom
Yeah.
Kenny is one of them. He can
Mhm.
do there's times where you're like, yeah, that's definitely a Tom Kenny thing, and other times where you just get blown away by, holy crap, that was him.
Yeah.
Um, so this show, it really pushed the boundaries of multiple entendre, innuendo, all sorts of stuff. Like there's an episode where Rocco works at a phone line, a naughty phone line.
hotline.
At
Yes,
the
a
hotline.
The
It's
hotline.
hot.
Oh man, that one kills me. I laugh so hard every time. There will always, like, every so often, just randomly in my head, I'll just get Rocco's voice. Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby.
The same thing.
It's just the '90s equivalent of having your OnlyFans to get by, and it's just really good. Now Rocco would have an OnlyFans, and
It's
that is
true.
comedy
Oh
gold.
my gosh.
It really, really is.
Ugh.
So we watched the episode with the segments Power Trip and To Heck and Back. Power Trip starts us off. And first of all, I love the opening of this show because it's very early to mid 90s, just Nickelodeon openings, right? It's very reminiscent of Doug's opening
Doug,
or Rugrats
yes.
opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's all the backstory you need.
Here's a
Great.
little
Yeah.
theme music.
You're in.
Maybe we sing the character's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
just real quick about the Nicktoons, I think what blows my mind about them and why they're so neat to me is they are all wildly different. Like those three shows that they produce, like Doug is very different from Rugrats, is very different from Ren and Stimpy. But it seems like where
Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy hit the cultural nerve, Nickelodeon was just like, okay, we need more of that. But we need something that the parents won't know is dirty. So let's put Rocko's Modern Life in there, and then parents, because I knew kids who couldn't watch Ren and Stimpy, but could watch Rocko's Modern Life. For
Yeah.
some reason, the parents just were unclear on the innuendos that we were dealing with here.
Yes.
Well, they
It's
didn't
very true.
exactly make it glaringly obvious as they did in Ren and Stimpy.
Sure,
Yeah.
but you had
They zoom into the teeth and the mouth and like, oh my
I
gosh.
Yeah.
have the episode with the bar soap is forever burned into my head.
Mhm.
I just like
parents were
it'll
really
come
not.
around eventually, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
They were just not into gross out stuff, and Ren and Stimpy had so much gross out stuff, and this
Yeah.
had this
Yeah.
had gross out stuff, but it was like it wasn't, for some reason, it didn't hit the same.
You weren't gonna walk through the room, glance at the TV, and see it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Ren and Stimpy, you could be walking through the room and be like, "What the hell are you watching?"
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
one, you'd have to actually be looking to
Mhm.
really kind of absorb what was happening.
Right.
You really would, because it was a lot closer to kind of old Looney Tunes in that
Yeah.
way.
Yes.
Where a lot of the gags, a lot of the sight gags were ridiculous over the top, but they weren't, all of the innuendo joke was in the dialogue. And so if you're the parent just walking through the room being like, oh, okay, you guys are watching cartoons, cool, and leave,
Yeah.
you're not paying
Right.
Yeah.
attention to the fact that they go to the Chokey's chicken.
Yep. Yep.
And that's not even
Which
the
did
worst
eventually
joke in
get
this.
changed.
Did it really?
Oh.
Yeah.
They did eventually change Chokey Chicken to something different down the road.
Choky Chicken's
Alex-
tagline
was
is
later-
what got
was-
me the most. Is it sticks to you? I was like, that's terrible. This is a terrible show.
They later renamed it Chewy Chicken.
Of course they did, but they left in the 24-hour jackhammer testing-a-thon, jacking all day.
Probably, yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Wow.
Just
Quality
just
entertainment.
amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. How old are you? 8? It's probably fine.
Also, the theme song for it is done by Tom Kenny and the B-52s.
Oh shoot! Yeah, that okay. I hear it. I hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode starts with Power Trip, and Power Trip opens up with really, really big man, which is just
As advertised.
Yep.
That's what it
Yep.
says on the tin.
I just love silly knockoff comic book characters in
Mhm.
shows when they're
Yeah.
just that. And he's
Mhm.
just really, really big man. We get this little vignette of that, and then it zooms out, and it's Rocco reading the comic book in the comic shop that he works in when his boss is leaving to go get hair plugs.
Mhm.
Not a
Yep.
thing I understood as a kid at all.
No,
Sailed right
pays
off.
off real well though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. So he's leaving. So he's leaving Rocko in charge, gives him the keys to the manager's office, and tells him to hire some help because you need to hire help for the one day you'll be gone.
Yeah.
Um, so Rocko puts out the help wanted sign, and then we get just this
Oh, and
montage
the
of.
one more important thing Rocko is
Oh.
not supposed to do.
Oh, right. Under
Do
no
not press
circumstances.
green button.
Yes. Rocko calls him a smoldering old toad under his breath, and then puts out the help wanted sign. And now we get a montage of the people he's going to hire, and they just get more and more ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
This really
my favorite-
resonated with me because I am currently having to interview people on Thursday, and I hate interviewing more than anything in the world. Even people that end up being nice, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. And I just the anxiety was building. I was like, oh no, it's coming up soon. I have to talk to people. Yeah, that and the other thing that stuck out to me was the eyeball humor. I'd forgotten how many times eyeballs touched other eyeballs in this show.
Eyeballs touch way worse than that in
Yeah,
this
it's
episode.
Oh, well, we'll get there.
Yeah,
Don't
they
worry.
did. Yeah, they did.
but eyeballs touching stuff they shouldn't be touching is just all over this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
I love the progression of the different people that are getting interviewed too, because they just get more and more ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like at one, it's just a kid playing with a plane toy, or one making like machine gun noises. Then you get like, my favorite is the stretch of a giant bacon and eggs as a face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Smash cut to giant teeth.
Mhm.
Smash cut to alien with crab claw, just
Right.
clacking his claws for no reason.
The best one though is the big guy who's like, and I punched him, and I punched him, and I punched him, and I said, "What do you mean I gave you the wrong change?" The retail
Yes.
dream, right there.
Mhm.
It's just absolutely crazy. And it ends though with Filbert. And Rocco asks him if they can be a team and sell comics. And I love Filbert's reaction because he tells Rocco,
Comic books are my life.
and
Yep.
boom, he's hired.
I love him.
So he's got a name tag. Filbert is so excited. He's so excited to be working. And Rocco says, "All right, well, I am going to head up to the office." And he goes up the giant stairs into this huge office.
This palace.
Like,
of an
yeah, it's like a glass dome
Mhm.
with the desk and and I'm like, no, man, that is a comic book store.
Mhm.
Even in
They are
1993.
laundering money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This
Especially
is money
1993.
laundering. This is a drug front, and I will not be convinced otherwise.
So he sits down in the chair. It's a big, cushy office chair. He plays around with it a little bit, drives it around because it's on wheels, which
Mhm.
cracked me up. And then he sees the green button. And he's looking at the green button.
It hits the red button.
Well, he does hit the
Puts
red
the
button
speakers
first.
out,
Mhm.
and that's good.
But he sees the green button, and then he hears his
Mhm.
boss's voice telling him, "Don't touch the green button." And he sees it. He can't. He's trying to resist, but he can't resist, and so he touches the green button, and then the chair vibrates.
Mhm.
It melts into the chair. But I love that he melts in the chair. He's like, "Ah, I love this chair," and then the eyes go crazy,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we smash cut back to Filbert working, and we get the, "Do you have the latest issue of Really, Really Big Man?" He's like, "No," and then proceeds to get called to the office by Rocco. So he's got to trudge all the way up there, and Rocco's behind the computer, and he's telling him that he needs to sell more comic books. Get down there and sell more comic books.
Push
Crazy
that
eyes.
pulp.
Yes.
That's good.
Also-
Such a good line.
Mhm.
Great line. No clue what that meant when I was a kid.
No.
Yeah.
It just didn't
Yeah.
mean anything to me. And then it's just that kind of thing over and over. Filbert goes down, gets asked about Really, Really Big Man. Rocco calls him back to the office. Only now he's smoking a big cigar. And it just goes back and forth. Filbert keeps getting called up and sent
Mhm.
back down, and called up and sent back down. And other people are chanting, "We want big man, we want big man." It just keeps going until the place is just
Yeah.
wrecked.
I love at
There's
one
just
point when Rocco's yelling at him with like multiple cigars in his mouth.
yes, cigar in every between all of his fingers. He's wearing
Mhm.
like he looks like the boss, right? He's got the
Yeah,
big
he's got
shirt, and
round.
suspenders. So the place is wrecked. And Rocco calls him up one last time. Filbert is like hogtied. There's
Mhm.
nothing in the store. He has to use
Mhm.
his teeth to crawl,
Yes.
which, yeah.
Yeah.
And when he gets up there, we get this drawn out diatribe about supply and demand. And then
Right.
and Rocco fires him because he didn't sell any comics.
That they didn't have. Specifically, really,
Yes.
really big man
Mhm.
that they did not have. Which is a
So
good,
Filbert,
that's a why, I mean, I feel
Mhm.
that. I've
Did
been
you
there.
guys did you guys notice the comic book titles that were in the background, like when it flipped to the actual store? There's like Big Bat and Bigger Man, and everything was big. Like every title that was written down was had the word "big" in it, and it just made me so. It was
So
just so
good.
great for just a
Yeah.
flash in the pan shot of that comic book stuff. Like that's
Mhm.
people who
Mhm.
care made this.
Right.
Yes. So Filbert's fired. He's out on the street. He's getting run over
Still
by
hogtied.
cars,
Yeah.
still hogtied. When he calls out for "Where are you, really, really big man?" and it echoes
He gets
and
run over by
echoes
like
and
a
echoes.
like a street train.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we skipped over it. But it was a really funny joke that somehow held up really well, in that when we see really, really big man in the beginning and he goes into his alter ego
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
of
Lois.
Lois Lane,
Lois Lane, the receptionist.
and he's just huge. And I at first, like, I see him and I'm like, oh boy, and then I was like, no, actually, I think this is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but this is just working.
Yeah, that's really, really big man's alter ego is a receptionist at the Daily. It wasn't the Daily Planet, the Daily Orbit
Yeah.
Yeah.
of Lois Lane. So yeah, Filbert calls out for, "Where are you, really, really big man?" And we get this like echo as the camera, backs away further and further, and then you get the streak through the sky, and really, really big man crashes into the office. And things have already been weird. We're about to go weirder
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
they
we
get
do.
so weird.
by a
He
lot.
knocks over like so many buildings on the way also.
Yes.
Collateral damage high.
So really, really big man shows up and he tells Rocco that he's here to discuss an issue with a friend of his. Now, stare into my magic chest hair, which
This is the
is
most
in
this
the
is the
shape.
most reasonable part of what's going to happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
His chest hair, which spells out RRBM
Yeah.
on his chest,
Mhm.
Yep.
which shows him Filbert out on the street getting run over by more stuff, including the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Then he has him stare even further into his chest
No, no, no.
to
He
show.
says, "Look deeper into my muscular bosom."
Oh
Yep.
yes,
Yep. Pulls him out of his chair.
Mhm.
yes.
Sticks his whole head in.
To see him and Filbert as kids.
Yeah, this is how
And
you used to be.
yep.
Uh-huh.
And then
Oh God.
Oh, it's so bad. Pull the band-aid
Why were
off,
they
Travis.
purple? Why were they purple? First of all, why were they purple?
Purple
I don't
nurples,
Were they
man.
know.
purple?
Purple
Oh,
nurple.
But
yeah.
after
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah. They look at his past friendship, and then using the nipples of the future, shows him turned completely into the smoldering old toad of his boss. But
Okay.
by doing that, the nipples shoot off of his chest and right onto Rocco's eyeballs
Like
directly.
pacifiers.
Yeah.
Just right in.
Yeah.
I
They are nipples. And
All
I'd
I could
forgotten.
think about was Falcon in the Captain America movie. Everybody's got a gimmick, and I was just like, "This is the worst
This is
gimmick
not
I've
a
ever
good one.
seen."
No, it's
Oh my
not.
gosh.
Not good at all.
They were
so
they were
funny.
so all about nipples and chest hair on Nickelodeon at this time because Ren and Stimpy did this stuff too. Like
Oh, yeah.
Powdered
Yep.
Toast
Yeah.
Man, I remember they would shove Ren and Stimpy in his butt cheeks and fly around. You know,
Mhm.
they would just it was just whatever body part you shouldn't be doing anything with, they were finding ways. And the nipples, I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed, but when they get retracted back in, they like droop for a minute and then they plop back up. It's the worst thing ever. They make a little pop sound and just
Mhm.
So Rocco realizes the error of his ways, and Filbert shows up, casts all over him. Rocco apologizes, but now they need to make money. And then Rocco has an idea, and they get really big man to sign comics in the store. That'll bring people in. And I love this because really big man, he goes to grab a comic from one of the kids and just rips his
Yeah.
arm right off.
yes.
hmm
And I love how it's a running gag with everyone after that too.
Yeah, every single one after that, he just rips the arms right off of him. And when he's trying to write, like he's trying to be gentle, but the pencil is just digging through the table.
Mhm.
He's signing it, but it works, and they sell so much money they wreck the cash register.
Yeah.
And really big man leaves, saying, "Remember, big is good." And everyone.
Sure.
I also liked Rocco saying, "We've all been touched by your bigness."
Mhm.
That's illegal.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't do that.
Um, so then Rocco's boss shows up, comes back. He's got his hair plugs. They're
Mm.
literal
Oh my god.
plugs in his head.
Literally
Yeah.
plugs. Oh,
Uh,
really funny.
he walks in, doesn't pay any attention at all to all the money that is stacked
So
behind
much
them.
money.
Yeah.
Just floor to ceiling money behind them. Asks who the guy is at the counter. Rocco tells him that's Filbert, that's the new assistant. He tells Rocco to fire him, and Rocco refuses. I'm not. He stands up to his boss. So his boss says, "Well, you guys make such a great team. You're both fired."
Yeah.
And they end up in the unemployment line. And as Rocco tells him, "It's all right. We'll be fine." And we cut back to the new employee working at the comic shop is Lois Lane,
Mhm.
who is given the
So
keys
good.
Mhm.
to lock up.
And one more
I love
time,
that.
rips an arm off. Grab it.
Rips an arm off.
That's
And that-
amazing.
Absolutely wild.
And that ends our first segment, Power Trip. This one was fun.
It was so fun. We
Oh,
skipped
yeah.
over a thing at the beginning that made me laugh so hard, and it was when really big man is doing his heroic stuff, and he's like, "I'll put this building back where it goes,"
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
carrying a
Yeah.
squid,
Oh yeah.
a squid and a nuclear warhead. And he's like, "And we'll chuck this nuclear warhead into the sun," and he throws what you think is a nuclear warhead. He's like, "Didn't we do it, Charlie? We did a great job." And he looks down, and he's still holding the nuclear warhead, so he had thrown the squid into the sun. And I was
Yep.
like, I've done that before. Like I bit into like the wrong thing I was carrying, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a terrible consequence
Mhm.
of trying to do too much at once.
So then we get our second segment, which is To Heck and Back. And this is the one that I distinctly remember watching. And not only do I remember watching this one, I watched this with my sister and my mother.
Oh
Um,
boy.
Oh, perfect.
So this one opens on a dark note.
Oh,
It's
Um,
really dark.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, oh, and like completely unnecessary. It's just
Totally.
filler.
It has nothing to do with the plot of the story at all.
No.
It's just
Well,
a
I mean,
chicken
we,
being,
we come back around to it. Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah,
we
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
do.
that's true.
which actually,
yeah.
in a way, makes it darker. But
Yeah, it
a
does. Right.
chicken
Mm-hmm.
named Karen is being interviewed by another chicken who looks over her resume and says,
Which-
"You'll make a great fit." Which,
Just
yeah,
ironic
already.
name. Good lord. Like I
Mhm.
know we've taken Karen as a specific name of a specific person these days.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that they use that name for this character.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So Karen has been hired. She is going to be a great addition to Choky Chicken Incorporated. And she walks out the door, and then we just see a package of chicken marked Karen going
Mhm.
down a conveyor belt. I was like, wow. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Wow.
Loaded onto a truck and taken off to a restaurant. And then that's it. That's that whole plot line played out.
Mhm.
So Rocco and Heifer are at the Choky Chicken.
This
And
was real good. This spoke to me. Them ordering
yeah, so
was so good.
Heifer is like, I don't know what I want yet. Rocco, you start. You order first. And Rocco starts to order. He doesn't even get anything out. And Heifer's like, okay, and I'll have, and just orders like half the menu.
Yeah, menu items that
Oh,
include
yeah.
things like lips.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one I remember. I didn't write any down, but that was the one that stuck with me.
Oh, and a large mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yep.
gosh.
Yeah.
Blech. I don't
That's not the
dislike
worst part.
mayonnaise. I don't
No,
dislike
but
mayonnaise, but that's just not a
no.
tub. So they order the food. It comes to like $37, which these are $1993, mind you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for chicken.
Mhm.
Well, he does order
Rock-
a lot.
He does order
Right.
a lot.
Rocco orders like a 5-piece,
Mm-hmm.
and then
So they go to
Heifer
sit down.
goes bonkers.
Yeah, Heifer gets a table, and when Rocco gets to the table with all the food and trying to tell Heifer like, hey, this came out to almost $40, Heifer is just drinking the ketchup straight from
he's
the
double
bottle.
fisting it.
Yeah, restaurant ketchup hits different.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I will.
it
I'll
does.
agree with that. Yeah, there's something.
I mean, it does.
Yeah,
I don't understand it,
it's
but
a
it
different flavor when it comes out of that red nondescript bottle.
Right.
So Rocco wants to have a conversation with Heifer about something, and Heifer kind of sort of dodges it, but then it's like, hey, are you going to finish that? Like, he hasn't even touched his own food yet, and he's trying to take Rocco's food.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocco's like, that's what I want to talk about. And basically trying to tell him that there's a little too much take and not enough give in their give and take friendship coming from Heifer.
According to the inflation calculator, $1993 is about $80.
Oh my gosh!
$2024.
And they didn't even
I mean, that's
DoorDash it.
still
I know.
that's in the
I
restaurant.
mean, depending on where you go, that's not entirely unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of food.
Bojangles
the
cost
im-
$30.
It was the imbalance that was the problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Heifer is munching on his chicken while Rocco's trying to talk to him, eats the whole chicken, and then takes the rib cage and just pops that in his mouth. And while Rocco's still talking to him, starts to choke on the rib cage. We get the classic "Is there a doctor in the house?" joke, but then it cuts to the
Mhm.
rest of the restaurant is just doctors, and they all kind of look
Just
away and
look
whistle.
into the sky. They're on
So
break, man.
you get Rocco trying to do the Heimlich,
Mhm.
and Heifer's got X's over his eyes, and while he's
Yeah.
doing the Heimlich, which is like jumping on him,
Yeah.
Heifer farts, and a spirit comes out
Mhm.
with wings,
Yep.
looks up to see a giant hamburger in the sky, and starts to fly towards that, but gets stopped partway, and his wings melt off, and now he's got a giant weight, and he goes down
Yep.
and lands in a pit of fire and brimstone. Heck, a friendly community.
And it said hell on the side, but the C and
It
K
did.
were written over it. And that was
Uh-huh.
So good.
Great.
So good.
So and he is then confronted by the ruler of Heck, Peaches.
I love
got a lot
this
of
the
problems
most.
with Peaches.
It's a little meta for me, but Peaches is what we call my brother-in-law when he's grumpy and hasn't eaten a while. So this had a whole different vibe for me. Ashley will go, Jacob's Peaches right now. Don't talk to him.
So Peaches is going to take him to torture him, and I love that he just rolls up the whole scenery like a background,
Right.
and it's just flat blue. And Heifer's like, "Wait, what happened?" It's just for the tourists. So he sits him down in front of a TV in a big armchair, and he explains what the TV is, like what model it is. And he goes, "You know what that makes this? The TV from Heck." He goes, "What Heck? Don't you mean?" And he covers him up. Sensors.
He
Which,
looks directly at the camera when he says it too. That was great.
Oh yeah.
fourth wall break to mention sensors in this episode is pretty great.
Yeah.
And then he does the whole like, well, then this is the lamp from Heck and the pineapple from Heck, and they have a laugh about Heifer saying, "I love when people say that." Now, Heifer is getting tortured because he has committed one of the 7 deadly sins,
Yeah,
gluttony. And then Heifer
Uh-huh.
stops him partway through asking if he's got anything to eat.
Yeah.
Heifer's not quite grasping the gravity of the situation.
No.
Peaches starts calling him, telling him, "No, gluttony, gluttony. You are a glutton. You are a glutton." And the word glutton appears over his head, and he looks up and says, "What's a?" He looks up and says, "Gluton."
What's
Mhm.
gluten?
Now, this is where the memory flooded back to me, because for whatever reason, I distinctly remember my mom losing it over him saying gluton. That to her was the funniest thing, just the way he said it, and she thought it was hilarious. So I distinctly remember watching this with her. So he is a gluton, and even it sounds funny.
Gluten?
Gluten. So then Peaches tells Heifer to turn to channel 3. Great, where's the remote? There is no remote. That's the worst thing you can tell Heifer right now.
Yeah.
He knows he's in heck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Back in the real world,
Mm.
Rocko notices there's a chicken bone so he's continuing to give the Heimlich when Heifer's skull
Yeah.
comes popping out of his
Yep.
head.
Just slides casually across the
Mhm.
restaurant floor.
To which all the doctors
Incredible.
watch.
Yeah.
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 He picks that up, puts it back in Heifer's head, and then notices that the chicken bone is caught in his throat.
Well, first he's like, "You've got X's for eyes. What in the blazes does that mean?" Like,
Yeah.
Come on, Rocco, you know what
that's
that
a
means.
good joke.
So now Peaches is showing Heifer video of all the times that he has just eaten everyone else's food. I love the first one is just Grandpa's birthday cake.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's
Did you
whole
even
with the
taste
candle
it?
still in it on fire.
And all the times he ate Rocco's food, and again we go dark because Heifer starts crying and saying that he is a gluten
Mhm.
Yep.
and that he's glad he's dead. Which
Yeah.
I was,
Mm-hmm.
jeez, okay.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Rocco, reaching down trying to get the chicken bone out, and then he just like loses his balance and slides down Heifer's throat and lands in his stomach.
That's so gross. They have mushrooms
One
down
of
there.
7?
Mhm.
9.
9.
Right.
So Peaches is going to make Heifer watch Rocco slowly starve. That's his torture, is to watch it and then watch it on repeat for the rest of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
When Rocco finds Heifer's heart and just pulls the chain and restarts it.
It's so good. It's like a light chain.
Mhm.
Love it.
Heart starts beating. You've got Peaches is over there laughing maniacally, and the heart starts beating, and like a chicken leg on a string
Mhm.
comes down. Heifer grabs that and he's about to eat it, but decides not to, and instead just hooks the string onto his belt and gets pulled away. And I love
Yep.
Peaches being like, "What? Nah, it's fine." And so Heifer comes back. He's back alive, and he feels terrible about what he did. And I love that when he comes back alive, all the doctors gasp and then start
They're
throwing money
eating
at
their
him.
food.
Mm-hmm.
They're at Rocco and Heifer's table eating their food that's just sitting there. So good.
So Heifer's apologetic and says, "Why don't we go to a movie? My treat."
Mm-hmm.
And they get up, they leave, and on their way out, Heifer is like, "I'm starving. Do you mind if we stop at, what did he call it? The beef barge."
Oh yeah.
Another great
Sounds
name.
great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good name.
You want to stop at the beef barge? I'm starving. And Rocco turns around and says, "Have you learned nothing?" And pulls his face off, and it's Peaches. And I didn't mention this yet, but Peaches, when he pulls his mask off in Heck,
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
pink face
Yeah.
with udders on top of his head. And
Yep.
when he
So
laughs
gross.
maniacally, milk just
Yep.
comes shooting out
Mhm.
of all the udders.
Yep.
What?
I don't know why. I assume mushrooms were involved.
It had to be.
Yeah,
There were so
that
many
seems
drugs at Nickelodeon Studios. So many.
Yeah.
So when Rocco pulls his mask off, it's Peaches underneath, and Milk starts spraying again, and then Heifer wakes up because it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
He's in his bed. He says, "Oh, wow, maybe I gotta stop exercising so much." And looks out the window, and then it's just another nightmare, and it's just Peach's heads all over the place, laughing, and Milk spraying everywhere. And then he wakes up again. It's dark, and he lights a match, and he's in a box. He's freaking out, and then it's Rocko in the car saying, "Heifer, we're going to be late for the comic book sale." And Heifer is just laying in the front yard with his head in a pretzel box.
Mhm.
But he's not dead. He's not dead yet. And he gets
Yeah.
up, and we get a little payoff to the joke at the beginning because
Yeah.
as he's walking to the car, Karen comes walking by. And Heifer says, "Hey, Karen, you're looking great today." She says, "Thanks. I'm on my way to a job interview at
So
Choky
messed
Chicken."
up.
Yep.
So bad.
And then Heifer says, "Choky Chicken? Oh, I love that place. Let's go there and eat." And we end things with them driving to Choky Chicken. And then as a stinger, I love the stinger for this because they drive off, and then we get Peaches, and he's playing the paddleball game, the
Right.
paddleball string.
Because that
counting
was
it.
another indicator of heck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And he's like 663, 664, 665. Ah, 1, 2, 3, and scene.
So
And that
good.
is To Heck and Back, which is one I will never forget because gluten.
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 Mhm.
If I ever like go to a buffet and I finish the buffet, I will often say to myself, I am a gluten.
I am such a gluten.
Amazing. Ugh.
And
Oh.
that was our episode of Rocko's Modern Life. It is nuts, the stuff that they managed to get on the air on what is considered children's programming in this episode alone. And this isn't
Yeah.
even one of the edgier episodes.
No.
No,
They pushed that envelope further. It's crazy.
There are so many things in this show that just live rent free in my head too, like through the run of it. Like there's one where they're doing this joke on It's a Wonderful Life where what teacher says an angel gets his wings or whatever when a bell
Yeah.
rings. There's one where Rocco lost a gas cap to his car or something, and there's this big ticker tape parade when they find it, and this kid goes, "Teacher says whenever a gas cap is found, an angel gets its wings." And the dad goes, "Your teacher's full of snot, kid." And I think about that all the time. I don't know why. It's just always in there. It's one of those what you say to yourself, but no one around you has a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was a little bummed out that we didn't have the big heads in this episode. 'Cause
Yes.
they're always hilarious.
They are a hoot.
But overall, I just this show's just like the epitome of envelope pushing, but in a more it's as we kind of mentioned, it's a little bit more subtle than Ren and Stimpy was. Ren and Stimpy was like hit you over the head with a brick.
Yes.
Which is
in
a
it.
wild thing to say after we just talked about Choky Chicken.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But
I know.
Yeah, but in that defense, like how many kids even know the
Oh, you
joke about
wouldn't.
choking?
No,
Like
no,
that's
you
the thing.
Right.
Stimpy like is gross and in your face. This was just, right over the head. Most
Yeah.
things.
All innuendo.
Yeah.
None of us knew what a
Mhm.
hotline was at that
No.
age.
No, I didn't know any of these jokes till I was a full-grown adult. So it gets a pass on the fact that they were subtle enough that you just didn't notice them unless you're paying attention.
Mhm.
But it also, I mean, this show paved the way for things like SpongeBob SquarePants, which is wildly popular.
Yeah.
And all sorts of stuff. And just creating and giving a career to, Tom Kenny and Mr. Lawrence and Carlos. And just they got started here. This is what did it. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And to think it was all started by a guy who didn't even want to he didn't like television cartoons at the time. He didn't want to do a cartoon on TV. He just wanted to make a movie, but he had to find some money for it. So he pitched an idea to a cable network that was like, well, we want to do weird stuff. And Joe Murray was like, okay, here's this thing. And he even said he forgot about it because it was like 2 or 3 months later when they came back to him. and he had sort of forgotten and was moving on to something else. And they came back like, yeah, we want to do the show. And he's like, okay, sure, why not? And 4 seasons out of it. So, Amy,
Just
are you
just
gonna
just puts the cocaine back down.
Yep,
Right,
pretty
right.
much.
Yeah.
So Amy, are you gonna watch more Rocco's Modern Life?
I don't I'm not in a real like maybe someday. I'm not currently in a real Rocco place in my life.
Sure.
Everything real is too weird right now. I can't go there right now. But it was good. It was nice to revisit. But I think I'm cool.
Fair. Audie, now that you've seen some Rocco's Modern Life, what'd you think? Would you watch more?
Yeah, I would definitely watch some more. I don't know if I would put this on the background or actually want to pay attention and catch all those jokes really well. So we'll see.
That's the thing with a show like this is you can put it on as background, but it really you're paid off to pay attention to it. Steven, how about you? You've watched every episode. Would you watch it again?
I'd easily go through this all over again. It would, like you said though, I got to sit down and I got to watch it because it's you are rewarded for looking at the screen. Not every show. There's so many shows that could just about work as an audio play, and you really wouldn't
Yeah.
miss a lot. This show demands you watch. Because I would have missed the fun stuff in the comic book shop with the stupid comic book titles. And the menu, there's jokes everywhere. It's like the airplane of cartoons. Just you look away, you're gonna miss something. And I love this show. It has a very special place in my heart. One of those formative cartoons, you might say. I was watching Looney Tunes and I was watching the 4 Nicktoons, like at any given point.
Yep.
And I adore it. I would watch it again.
Excellent. So before we talk about what we're gonna do for our new topic and next week, we did get some feedback. I don't know if we got any email feedback or
Ooh,
not.
I will
but
check.
I got
while
some
you're-
feedback.
Yeah.
On Twitter, I got from Michael Miller at Joe Uncool. He said, "I'm catching up on Those Were the Days. Question that hit me is why hasn't there been a Mork and Mindy movie? You would think like Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, or heaven forbid, Rob Schneider would have jumped on it. Maybe out of respect for Robin."
Maybe.
That's probably it.
I wonder. I mean, it's interesting that
'cause
there was
who, like,
never.
yeah.
Well, it's interesting there was never one while Robin Williams was alive
Yeah.
that they never did a movie. But I would have to think nobody else could be Mork. There is no.
You would have to take the same concept of Orson sending an annoying alien. He couldn't be Mork. It'd have to be some other alien that they don't want on the planet with them to do recon on Earth. Similar, and you could do that if you really wanted to. I think it could work. You just have to find a way to help break it away from people's expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those that feels like the impossible task of doing anything remotely close to what Robin Williams could do.
Are we far enough away now, though, that like the generation that would enjoy that movie is not here? Like us being a unique piece of classic TV, we're at an age where we remember it from Nick at Night, but there's a whole generation that doesn't have a darn clue.
Yeah.
So that would be hard. It'd be tough to find the demographic and get them in the theater. It couldn't just be based on nostalgia.
Right, which is where they'd probably turn it into a different kind of movie that we wouldn't like.
We wouldn't want. Yeah, exactly. They would get crude with it or something, lose its innocence.
It makes me think of when they didn't they do a My Favorite Martian movie in the 2000s
they
or
did,
something?
yeah.
Or
They did.
90s? And that didn't do great. And I think it was because of sort of the same thing. Like it's Mork and Mindy and Robin Williams in general is such a lightning in the bottle thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to reproduce that. So I can understand why we haven't had one yet, and I don't know that I would want a Mork and Mindy movie. If we can't have Robin Williams, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, pretty good. We did have email if you want this, Travis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got an email from Sean who says, "Hey, all. I'm currently a little behind on episodes, but I'm very excited for the upcoming episode about Rocko's modern life. I loved watching this show when I was a kid, along with Ren and Stimpy, All Real Monsters, and Rugrats. So many jokes went over my head when I was younger, so rewatches are often a wild ride. Love this show and strange and wonderful journey us listeners get to go on with you. Sincerely, Sean." Thank you,
Oh,
Sean.
thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's All Real Monsters is one I thought
All
of
Real Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
multiple times while watching this. Just thinking about all the Nicktoons that came out, because it was like the first three, then this one, then it was kind of an explosion of
Yep.
Nickelodeon crafted cartoons. I think Invader Zim is a Nickelodeon Nicktoon. Like it all came along eventually.
Yeah.
All this cool stuff.
Head pigeons.
So that wraps up. Wait, this was for kids? On Those Were the Days. This is a topic we will probably revisit because
Oh yeah.
just Nick shows alone, but also a lot of Cartoon Network stuff
Yeah.
can fit into this. And there
Mhm.
are others. There are others as well. But we have a new topic for a new batch of episodes. And
Yes.
Audie is going to
Chosen
kick us
by
off.
you,
Yes.
That's right.
our listeners.
We put out a poll. You voted. Audie, what won the poll and where are we going next?
I'm kind of surprised this won, actually, but we're doing crossovers next.
Oh boy.
So this will be fun.
Awesome.
So, I was trying to think of crossover stuff, and there's one that really stood out in my mind of one of my favorite shows I remember watching and remember the crossover. And we're taking a turn from the kid shows, you guys. We're gonna do Law and Order,
What?
season
Okay.
6, episode 13, Charm City, where it crossed over with Homicide: Life on the Street.
Yes.
Amazing.
Which is awesome because that means we're going to get to talk about Detective Munch,
Yes, he is in this episode, so
which
we
has
will
me
be
excited.
talking about him, and that is on Hulu currently. So all of you
Excellent.
Hulu and Hulu Disney positive watchers, go for it.
Disney positive.
So
Excellent.
good.
That's going to be fun. There's
Yeah.
a drastic change from our Nicktoons to Law and Order.
Yeah.
Be careful of the whiplash, but I think it'll be fun.
I think it's gonna be great.
Law and Order. I can't wait to see what other crossovers we get. Crossovers are
I know.
fun because I love the idea of taking two shows and bringing a character from another show, not like a backdoor pilot. That's a different thing
Mhm.
entirely.
Mhm.
These are just like a show is established and we bring someone new in. So can't wait for that. That'll be fun.
And the further apart the shows are, though, the better it gets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because you're like, wait, what's happening right now?
Especially when it's not a crossover in a meta way. Like it's not somebody showing up on the Muppet Show.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's like
as
in
either an actor
universe,
or in a character,
we are
but in
crossed
universe
over.
stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about Mork and Mindy, Mork being on Happy Days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 That's
absolutely.
a crazy one.
That's nuts.
So
how do you
that'll
make
be
that
next
work?
week. Law and Order. Ah, can't wait.
Yeah. What
Um,
season and episode was that again, Audie?
It was season 6, episode 13, and the name of the episode is Charm City.
Charm City.
Perfect.
Sweet.
And it is correctly in there on Hulu as the
Nice.
episode. So
Good. Finally, because these
Yeah.
cartoons have been a
Yeah,
nightmare.
that's
Right.
something
really
else,
have been.
man.
If you want to send us some feedback, by the way, we love getting your feedback, whether it is through Twitter. You can tag myself, or I think I might be the only one still there checking it.
Yeah,
But
doing
Blue
it.
Sky as well. We're all on Blue Sky, including the show at thosedayshow.bsky.
Social.
Yes.
Social.
And
You know,
we also have
You know how it'd be.
Mhm.
those were the days show at gmail.com. So send us your emails, send us whatever, give us the feedback. We love to get it. It's so much fun. Did you watch Rocko's Modern Life? Or if you're listening to this one, did you watch Law and Order? Do you remember this episode? Tell us about it. We want to hear from you.
Mhm.
So until then, until next week, for Amy, for Audie, and for Stephen, I'm Travis, and I'm saying, hey, it's a modern life. We're all just making our way through it.